Hi everyone, my name is Taylor Curran and I am a senior sales engineer at Prefect. It's my job to technically support some of the largest organizations that use Prefect. And today in my section of track 2, we are going to be zooming into our workflows. We're going to look into how you can use Prefect's new feature, resources, to learn about the relationships that exist between your tasks and flows, as well as the relationships that exist between data sources that you have across your stack and the tasks and flows that interact with those resources.
So what we're looking at right here is our central workspace dashboard, and it's fairly high level. What we're seeing on the right is our active work pools. These represent the health metrics of our various execution environments. So anywhere that we are running data pipelines, we're going to get some insights about those environments on the right. On the left, we can see all of the different flows that have run in a given week or day, as well as any failures. Any failures will be highlighted here, and Prefect will actually summarize error logs so that at a glance you can see what might be going wrong. Though typically when I see failures, the first thing I want to do is zoom in and figure out where in a given failed workflow did something go wrong. So with Prefect, you're able to just click into the flow run. And when you get to this flow run page, you're going to see our flow run diagram that is going to give us a lot of rich information about what happened here. So few high-level metrics that we will get are things like, what is responsible for this flow run? Was it a person or a user that manually ran this? That's what we're actually seeing here. We can see that yours truly is responsible potentially for this workflow failing. We can also see if this was kicked off because of a schedule or because of an event-driven execution. So maybe some event that might have triggered this flow to run here. We can see things like the different environments that this might have run in. So in this case, we can see that this ran in an AWS ECS environment. So we have some serverless infrastructure at play here. And we can also above see all of the different tasks that ran, and maybe even subflows that might have run here, as well as their tasks if we drill down and open that box up here. So we get a lot of rich information that will allow me to determine what in this workflow is working and where failure has occurred and what needs to be done in order to fix this situation. Prefect goes well beyond showing the status of tasks and subflows and their duration of execution and their various relationships. We also have what we call workflow events. And so that's what these purple dots represent. Any orchestration or data-related event that took place will show up here, and we can browse these in a dedicated dashboard if we click this Explore Events button. So this Explore Events button is going to allow me to see all of the events that took place in my workspace. In this case, we're filtering it for this particular flow run. And if I scroll, we can see that there are many events here. Things that took place are events like the flow run failure, task runs, entering into different states also creates events. We have events relating to reading in data from Snowflake or even S3. So as we can see, events already give me a lot more rich information into what actually is taking place during this flow run. This events page is full of rich information. We're able to continue to zoom into our workflow and determine what's going on even inside of some of these tasks. And this is great because as data practitioners, we tend to think about our workflows in terms of the data resources that are involved and being affected. The events page already provides a rich history into what is going on in these workflows, things like pulling in data from Snowflake or loading in a file from S3. We can all see that from here. We are now introducing a new way for you to use events to describe these resource interactions. And these can be visualized on our Explore page. In this view, in this Explore lens, I can see my flow alongside the different data resources that it interacts with. For this example, imagine I'm a data engineer supporting a team of analysts, and those analysts are looking to analyze data from Major League Baseball games to determine if the elevation of the city where the game took place affects player performance. So my job is to make sure that all of the data that those analysts needs is ready in our Snowflake data warehouse. So we can actually see that in this case, we have a API in play. This API is giving us information about the game scores and the game location, as well as game schedules. And I can actually click on the line to get more detailed information on how many times my workflow here has interacted with this data source. We also are using some data that we're pulling in from files in S3, and I'm also able to learn about Prefect's interaction there. On the other side or downstream of my workflow, we can see the different tables that are being populated as a result of this workflow. And the neat thing about this view here is that it's not just there to show me one workflow and the data resources that it interacts with. It's also there to show me how different workflows, how different flows in Prefect interact with one another through their data resources. And Prefect can actually help me build this graph because it's already aware of these relationships. So I'm actually able to just click on, for example, this table here for game locations, and I can click Add Related Resources. And from there, I get a list of resources that Prefect knows are related to that table. So in this case, we can see that there's actually a flow called Process and Store Elevation Data that seems to be pulling in information from here. That's at least we understand that it's downstream of this table here. So I can click on that, and you can then see that more options show up here. So in this case, I can actually see that this flow results in this elevation data table. So once I've selected all of the different resources that I want to keep track of, I can simply hit save. And we can now see that we have this wider view of all of our different, not only flows, but also the data resources that they interact with. I might be missing something here, so I'm going to just double check and zoom in to this elevation data flow to see if there's any other related resources. So actually, what I can see is that there is an elevation API that we are using that is giving data to this workflow here. So I can click on that and click save. And so now we can see that this workflow isn't just getting data from a Snowflake table, it's also pulling in data from an elevation API, in this case, trusty OpenMedio, right? So this Explore page will allow me to keep track of these relationships, to keep track of the volumes of interactions that are occurring between these different resources. And that's going to help me solve a lot of problems. Like if you find a piece of data that is corrupted up here, we automatically know which workflows are going to be affected by this corruption in data quality. I'm sure folks at home want to try this out. There are 3 ways that Prefect can become aware of resource events. One is through the use of result persistence in Prefect. 2 is through the use of our dbt integration, which Kevin will touch on in the next section. And 3 is through manually omitting these events from your task and flow code. So please check out the README to see how you can omit these resource events to Prefect so that you're able to change these views around in your own UI. With a view like this, we are going beyond task and flow orchestration. We're able to see all of these relationships, and this allows us to make quick determinations. If my data gets corrupted somewhere along this view, I'm able to quickly see which are the workflows that are going to be affected downstream. I can see the volume of interactions that are occurring between each flow and its various resources, and I can monitor how this changes over time. Additionally, it is worth mentioning that this view is built using Prefect events. Resources are Prefect events. Resource interactions can trigger workflows in an event-driven manner, just like any other Prefect event. We hope you guys enjoyed looking into how we can zoom into our workflows using Prefect. In the next session, Kevin is going to be showing how these resources can be created automatically when you use our DBT integration. Thanks so much for watching.